When someone dies, it's a natural response to organise a funeral ceremony. It's a normal thing to do. It's something we've become accustomed to doing. It can also help us feel like we're sending off our loved one whilst their body is present straight after a, a death has occurred in the family. So funerals are usually held between 5 and 7 days, maybe more, maybe less, after the death. And they are held usually with the body in a coffin at a chapel or a reflection space. Well, it really could be anywhere. But I feel like the funeral service itself doesn't really go far enough. And what I'd like to encourage you to do is actually consider having a memorial service down the track. So you can still have a funeral service at the time of passing, but with so many people suffering from the effects of grief and the very complicated, complex emotions and triggers that seem to pop up every day, the waves of emotion that come and overtake us, I feel like people are concerned that their loved one is being forgotten, that their memory has been lost as people go back to their normal lives and return to work. They sort of, as time goes by, they might stop talking about the person that's lost their life. And there's a sense that maybe the person's true effects on other people or true impact has become lost. And whilst this is not a logical thing to consider, it's often one of those deeply held emotional sort of things that just festers away. And look, often it may not be even verbalized. However, I believe that having a memorial service after, at some stage after, so even a year later, 2 years later, 10 years later, the length of time will really be up to each family member who loses someone important in their life. And also, if you were not involved with the actual funeral planning and arrangement, then there might be a deep need within you to want to express your memories of your loved one the way you'd like to. So it doesn't have to be, say, the husband or the wife or the children who organise a memorial service. It could be anyone. And what it involves is getting together at a certain time and place in a venue of your choice and just inviting people to attend another service where memories are shared, rituals are performed, and I'm talking about things like candle lighting, placing a flower, near in a vase with a photo. You can have a table full of mementos. You can have music. You can have live music. You can have poetry. The choices are really endless in how you can commemorate a person that's passed away. And one of the reasons why I think that funerals don't go far enough is that often, well, let's say 99% of the time, if you had to make a figure, they are organised in the days following a person's passing away. So the people organising the funeral are often exhausted, emotionally drained, confused, overwhelmed, sad, traumatized, you name it. There's a lot of heavy emotions going on at that time. And the funeral service, as I said, is a response to a person passing away. It's something that is satisfying in a way that if you were not to have it, you wouldn't feel satisfied, but it doesn't go the full degree of effect that I believe it should. How can you prepare for having some kind of a service that truly commemorates the person in a short amount of days when you haven't really had time to process anything? And it's really just, a response. And I feel like there's a great need for people to actually come together and have a memorial service in the future. They're such a great way of remembering that person, of spending time and really going into your mind and thinking, well, what would we like to do? What's the best way we can actually commemorate this person? Like, we could put together video tributes, we can put together music, different music, we can get people to perform here. We can invite people to share their stories, and you can be really creative about it. You can have it in your lounge room if you wish, at a riverbank, in a golf club, a football club, a bowls club, an RSL. You could have it on the top of a mountain. You could have it on a boat at sea. You could take a river cruise down the Yarra and have a memorial service on there. You could all go and stay in like an Airbnb and just make it a memorial weekend. You could run events in that person's honor. You can create a sporting event where there is a trophy and it's got the name of your loved one, and then there's different memories and things shared throughout that whole weekend. I think it gives us a chance to really explore the way we feel and to share those stories and to have people who can come forward and really contribute stories and memories and provide photos that they've got. So even if you've got your own family photos and you've collated those, there might be friends that have shared memories with your loved one, and they can all be made up into a very visual aspect and a very beautiful way of paying tribute to that person. And I feel like the very act of having a purpose in terms of putting together this event that you're running would really go a long way in helping people express not just their grief, but their memories and their gratitude and their amazing times that they've shared together. And this will help so much in delving down into those memories and into those spaces and thinking about all of the ways that a person had an impact. You could even create like a visual storyline of what the person's done in some way. Like the choices are endless. And you can plan to do it yourself. You can actually run it yourself. You don't need a person to help you with it. Or you could ask a celebrant to help you with it. And they could provide ideas, and someone who's very experienced in funeral services and memorial services will be able to listen to you, listen to all of your ideas, and then come back with lots of creative ideas and different ways that this day can be put on. And it might go for an hour, 2 hours, it might only be a short time, but it's something that can be done that can involve whoever you want to. You can make it a little more accessible for children to attend and to participate in. And it's a little less confronting than having a coffin in the room in case of thinking about inviting children to a funeral service. And I'm not against it or for it, but it might be a little bit more relaxed if it's at someone's house as well, that that the children know, then they might feel a lot more relaxed in participating. The other thing is, if you decide to do it yourself, just think about an order of service. So how you're going to flow this event from the very start to signaling the end of it. So what you'd be wanting to do is to think about how you will start it. And a good way to start it is with music. So thinking of a song that your loved one, really loved and or used to dance to, or perhaps, that was the song that was on when you met, or it was their favorite song, or it brought back a lot of memories for you. Just anything that you feel is relevant. You don't even have to play the whole song. You could play a bit of one song merging into a bit of another song, merging into a bit of another song. You might also like to then think about the ending and using music to signify the ending. Then what you do in between those two spaces is up to you. You probably want to begin with an introduction, a welcoming, a thank you for attending, and a bit of an outline about what's going to happen on that day at that event. And then from there, you can literally pivot into any point of it that you like. You could decide that this is a good time to share memories and invite people to come forward and talk about the loved one. They could be sharing their own memories. You could be sharing it for them if they don't want to speak. It could be video tributes from, people that live interstate, or even if they don't want to speak on the day, they might want to video themselves talking and include it in the ceremony, because a lot of people don't like getting up in front of people, as you know, and it might be a lot easier to just film it and have it shown at the actual service. Other things you might want to do is create a time where there's another piece of music and some candles. You could get a bunch of tea light candles and just have some already lit smaller candles that people can use to light those. And you ask them to come forward and just light a candle in your loved one's honor. As I said, you can play some music at that time, something thoughtful, something upbeat if you want. It really is up to you. But if it is a time for quiet reflection, then maybe something more instrumental might be good. Classical music, as long as it's appropriate to your loved one. You might include a video tribute of memories played again with music, showing different parts of their life from when they were very young to when they were closer to their time of death. If you don't have certain photos, don't worry about it. Just move on with the photos that you have. You might like to construct a bit of a timeline of their life, or create a bit of a eulogy, starting from, their parents, where they were born, what they experienced, where they grew up, what they thought, what they were like as a child. How did they get their name? Who was their first love? What funny things happened to them at that time? What was their first car? What was their first job? What did they want to be when they became an adult? What was it like when they met that person that they fell in love with and ended up getting married to and having children with? What were some of the memorable moments? What were the highlights of their career? Who were their family? Who were their best mates? What did they love to drink? What did they love to watch? What did they love to do? What about family holidays? Did they love fishing, camping, bowling, tennis, painting? Were they an artist? Did they write books? What were their favourite books? Just think about anything that is going to show your loved one and their life and the things that meant everything to them, the things that made up who they were. As you're going through the ceremony, you might incorporate live music if you've got family members who are in a band, they might like to get together and write a song or perform a song during the ceremony. Again, it doesn't have to be elaborate. It could be just a couple of people sitting down on chairs singing. They might not even be instruments. They might be just an a cappella type thing. You might also incorporate some more lively music and actually ask everybody to get up and dance. These things have been done very successfully during funeral services and memorial services. And then you might like to incorporate some beautiful poetry that really describes the feeling of that person in your life and make it something that's a little bit more abstract. So often poetry can say things that we as humans can't say just like that verbally. It's got very colourful and flowery language, and it can really suit the occasion. And it can also create a little bit of philosophy around approaching somebody passing away or how to think about it. So that's another avenue that you can take, and there's so many resources on the internet that you can find. And as the ceremony is coming to a close and you've done all of these things that you've wanted to do, then at the end, you'll just be wanting to let people know what they can do afterwards. So will they be hanging around for some refreshments later? Or will they be, going out somewhere else and doing something else, something more symbolic outside or whatever it is? It could be going for a bushwalk for all I know. It's whatever you feel is appropriate. And at the end, you will just be wanting to thank people for coming. And just letting them know what the next step is. You're going to be playing some music to take us out of the ceremony. And please join us for some refreshments afterwards. And just end it there. End it however you like. It is completely up to you. And you've got such an open canvas of what to do. I would also encourage you that if one memorial service is not enough, perhaps think about doing it in another 10 years or 5 years or whenever you like. It could be an annual bit of a get-together with some important people. And as I said, you can, go away for the weekend or create an annual event in that person's honour. And at some point, you might feel like you've actually commemorated enough, or maybe not, and that'll be up to you. So I hope that you will feel encouraged by the idea that the commemoration does not have to stop with the funeral service, that it can be held anytime, anywhere, and that there's no rules. It's not a legal service, so you can literally ask anybody you like or run it yourself or have a celebrant who's experienced. And I feel like this will really help people to express their grief, express the memories, and really get people together in honor of that person. Because after all, we don't want to forget our loved ones. We don't want to feel like other people are forgetting them either. So it's a really, really beautiful thing to do. And if you get the chance to go to a memorial service at some point, someone invites you, please go. Because they are beautiful and they do help.